Hello, hello, party people. We think that the 2024 MLB trade deadline has now come and gone. It has been a flurry of moves. Mike Elias just creating a absolute chaotic storm at the buzzer here to finish with maybe, 300 total trades today. That might be a record. Is that a record? He might have just set the record for most trades on a deadline day. They just did like 5 deals. So to rattle them off here, and then we'll get into reactions and talk about some of it. The Orioles, I think I have this right. I might need a little help here because I don't want to forget Soto, who they just traded for. The Orioles ended up dishing out Austin Hayes, Kyle Stowers, Connor Norby, Billy Cook, Matthew Etzel, Jackson Baumeister, Mac Horvath, and Seth Johnson. They also traded a very low-level reliever. I don't know. Eric probably has that. And then they received Seranthony Dominguez, Cristian Pache, Zack Eflin, Trevor Rogers, Eloy Jimenez, Patrick Riley, Austin Slater, and Gregory Soto. Eric, initial takeaways now as these moves are coming in. The Orioles also DFAing Cole Irvin, who they acquired in 2023.
Yeah, it was, again, we were talking kind of all day being like, man, when is this thing going to get going? It was like right around noon. I got a bunch of texts being like, when is this going to get live? And it was like, just give it a little bit. And again, the MLB trade deadline day always delivers. It really does. I don't know if we'll ever beat 2014. That was great. But I like most of the move. I mean, I like a majority of the moves. Again, I said last night, I wanted a right-handed outfielder. Preferably, like a Kevin Pillar. I know we talked about him. They got Eloy Jimenez in that kind of role. They traded for, what was that guy's name? Austin Slater. Sure. I guess he's technically a right-handed outfielder. If you want to.
How many outfielders do they have right now on the club?
So right now, off the top of my head, who is it? It's Colton, Cedric, Heston, Tony, Mullins. No, I did. I said Cedric, right? Slater, Eloy.
Is Pache?
Pache, yeah. So they're just build the whole thing out of outfielders. Just build the whole plane out of them. So yeah, they definitely stocked up again. Eloy is going to be. Somebody said he's this year's Delman Young, which I think that's pretty much he'll be a right-handed pinch hitter. He's not going to play the field. He shouldn't play the field.
What's really cool about that is you're not a Ravens fan, so you don't know the phenomenon of this guy's going to be this year's Anquan Bolden. Every single year since 2013.
Tandon Doss. I mean, he's gonna have a breakout year. Again, that move's fine. It's whatever. It's a right-handed bat. Again, it's he can mash when he's healthy. Again, don't expect him to stretch a single into a double. That somebody tweeted me and they said he runs to first, like every ball is hit over the fence, regardless of where it's actually hit. He's a hot dogger, so we'll say that. So there's going to be a lot of Johnnies and Joes and Dundalk who do not like the effort that
it's
Eloy
the meme of
out.
The guy on third in the podiums who's like celebrating and like kissing the girl and like he's actually like in third.
Yeah. But again, they got Gregory Soto, who
throws a 98 mile per hour sinker, gets a ton of whiffs. He has a crappy ERA. I mean, I say he's a crappy ERA. I think he's a 4.3 ERA and like a 4.3 expected ERA. Things they can tinker with. Of course, I think that we're always very reactionary to check someone's ERA and assume that the acquiring team is not going to make any changes to a pitcher or any sort of mechanical change or change up the percentage at which they use a pitch. On previous episodes, I talked about the Brewers acquired Aaron Savale and immediately had him stop throwing his four-seam fastball. So there's going to be tinkering. That also means there's probably going to be some growing pains as they tinker. So is this a finished product? Certainly not. Such a flurry of moves. But Gregory Soto at the buzzer, I really like that move a lot. Getting someone who throws high velo, is a lefty, and gets whiffs. And throws a sinker, which gets some ground balls too. So does he walk people? Yes. Is he consistent? Definitely not. But I don't know. CNL Perez has similar, expected ERA, stuff like that. CNL Perez, isn't the greatest, but he's certainly not a bum. So see what they can do. So they end up taking now Craig Kimbrell, Seranthony Dominguez, and Gregory Soto from the Phillies bullpen, which lost them the NLCS.
Yeah, that again, they're just rebuilding the Phillies bullpen from last year. Was Soto the guy who threw up and tight to Gunnar? Somebody had asked me that.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. It maybe. I know he's a lefty. That's all I know. Yeah. So, and again, Suarez to the bullpen now, probably with Irvin gone. But I'm trying to think of what other moves. We know about Seranthony. We know about Eflin. We know about Pache. The Trevor Rogers one, that was the contentious one. That kind of dropped
what I'll say about that one, and like I don't have a ton of time here. I'm down at the beach, but really what that one is kind of all about to me is it's like when you go to a steakhouse, right? And you order steak and you pay $100 for it, right? And you know you're getting a good deal with that steak. The steakhouse thinks they're getting a good deal with your $100. And really that's just how these teams are. So
money can in fact be exchanged for goods and services.
I couldn't have said that better myself, Jake. I think that was pretty spot on. It's a hell of an analogy too. It's fantastic. So I don't know where you pulled that one out of, but good stuff there. That was really
the people calling into question his concussion status too. Maybe a little classless, but I gotta say,
Charlton Heston Kerstad eating his $100 steaks there.
Yeah.
So yes, you can actually exchange goods and services for currency and vice versa. Very, very groundbreaking stuff there from Heston. Thank you, Heston. The Rogers deal, I think, blew a lot of people's minds. There was the tweet of someone just buying a Connor Norby jersey. Unfortunate images preceding of Orioles events, whatever the hell that Twitter is.
That was our guy Bryce, I think.
Yeah. So Norby and Stowers, who again, not top 100 guys. Stowers not a prospect. Norby, the 6th, 7th prospect that the Orioles have. However, he has been playing recently up here. Taron Vavra moves up. Looks like he's going to play for a little bit until probably Jackson Holiday can protect rookie status in a couple weeks in August. So just a litany of moves here. But Rogers himself, definitely not what people were clamoring for necessarily. I would really say it was a 1-1 Norby for Rogers. They threw in Stowers, get the deal done, I guess. Stowers simply can't play here. He's Rule 5 eligible coming up here. There's no room for him. They already have 2 other young power-hitting lefty outfielders that they like. So there's just not a spot for him. Norby, for the time being right now, the Orioles felt like they needed him, but ultimately not going to end up playing over Westberg, not going to play over Gunnar, not going to play over Holiday. Mayo is going to factor in there in the infield. There's Mountcastle still hanging around in the infield. Mountcastle also not was rumored to be maybe on the block and stays in Baltimore, which I feel like he's thrilled about and we're thrilled about. So Rogers, I don't know. Rogers is a lot more of a pro than Cade Povich and McDermott and these rookies have looked like. So there's your 5 to get you to the playoffs. Now you have Eflin, who I don't know. Like you look at his ERA and you look at his box score, you're like, all right, whatever. I don't know. I feel like he was one of the best value deals and arguably the top starting pitcher that was traded throughout this entire trade deadline. And the Orioles still have Holiday and Basayo and Mayo and Kerstad and Bradfield, like all of their pretty much, top guys. Bradfield, not even the top 100, but didn't really go too crazy here. But Eflin, control. Rogers, control. You have Grayson now. Who knows what will happen with Burns? Definitely feels like he's, not going to sign an extension, but a little bit of security. A little bit of just professional stability to the rotation. Like Suarez, I respect what he's done this year 100%. I know Orioles fans do too, but I mean, is he going to run out of gas? He hasn't pitched like this in the MLB, and this is a way of kicking out Irvin for a better long man, which upgrades your bullpen in addition to Soto, in addition to Dominguez. And I'm sure the Orioles are going to keep tinkering. Now there will be players that get waived that, weren't getting traded, so there might be somebody that catches their eye. So a flurry of moves, but now you're looking at a rotation of Burns, Rodriguez, and Eflin. That's pretty much your playoff rotation. I mean, maybe you'll start Kramer or Rogers once, maybe not. And then you've got Kramer and Rogers to try and get you into the dance. And it also just gets you a little insurance of some professional stability there. I mean, is Rogers lighting the world on fire? No, but he's 26. He's a lefty, and they get some control, and they basically traded him for someone that was completely blocked. And I think Norby was also about to be Rule 5 eligible. Feel free to check me in the chat for that or whatever. But I mean, are they huge moves? No, but no, I think I saw no Baseball America top 100 prospect was traded the entire trade deadline. So we see Yusei Kikuchi, who's a rental that's been struggling and is known to be sleepy as hell in September and August, and gets his 15 hours of rest and doesn't feel like pitching anymore. I think he has a 6.3 ERA in the months combined in the months of September and August throughout his career. Nets a pretty strong yield from the Astros. Was it top guys in baseball? No, but it was the Astros top guys to a degree. So the Orioles didn't break the bank, but gave themselves stability and options and got a lot of experienced pros in overall. Hoko Dad here. Snelling was not a top 100 prospect in Baseball America. He was an MLB pipeline. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, crazy day. And again, here's our buddy Orioles fan Ryan. I think that's his name. Yeah, Orioles fan problems, all that other good stuff. He kind of just summed it up. In Zack Eflin, Trevor Rogers, Seranthony Dominguez, Gregory Soto, Eloy Jimenez, Austin Slater, Cristian Pache. They did get Levon Soto, too, from the Reds in that Slater deal. So he's an infielder for whatever that's worth. Out, Austin Hayes. Yep, there it is. Kyle Stowers, Connor Norby, Matthew Etzel, Matt Horvath, Seth Johnson, Jackson Baumeister, Trey McGow, and then they DFA'd Cole Irvin. I think the Orioles got better today. I really, really do. And again, you couple that. I don't know. The Yankees did nothing. They got, who is it? Mark Leiter Jr.?
Yep, sure. And Jazz Chisholm.
And Jazz, yes. And they got Jazz the other day. Okay, sure. Again, they were in on Jack Flaherty. They were supposed to be on this guy. They were supposed to be on this guy. They didn't get anyone. Sorry. The Reds just tweeted out their full get for that trade. Let me read that. Let me see. Austin Slater, Levon Soto, and cash considerations. The Reds acquire a player to be named later or cash considerations. So again, nothing of consequence went there. But again, I think the Orioles got better. They shored up, they I don't know if you want to say shored up. They added some arms to the bullpen. Again, you take away Cole Irvin, you add Seranthony Dominguez and Gregory Soto. That seems like an upgrade to me. Plus now Suarez is there. And then again, with Rogers going into the rotation, like you just talked about, that kind of bumps Kramer or Suarez out of there. And so that creates that, plus the controllable years, all that stuff. The people who were like, I do respect cash considerations. No one is a bigger cash considerations fans than myself. But, again, I think we got caught up in this. They're going to get Scooball. They're going to get Crochet. That was never going to happen. And obviously after the haul for Kikuchi came in, they would have wanted the Harbor and the warehouse for him, and it was never going to happen. You look at what the Padres gave up for Tanner Scott. The Orioles were just never going to do that. And I think that's okay, because you don't want to trade all those guys for a reliever with no control after this year. But yeah, again, I mean, I think the Orioles got better, which is a big thing. And the Yankees, again, did not improve much. So that's a big thing.
Neither did the Guardians, really. They trade for Alex Cobb.
What do we do? I mean, 2018 Orioles, what are we doing? So I think, I don't know what a grade I would put on it. I really have to sit down and think about it and look. And Jackson not in the lineup for game 2. Maybe he's on his way up. I could see Vavra. Again, they have a noon game tomorrow, I think, the Orioles. So they maybe just needed to get somebody there. And I don't know, it's a logistical move or whatever, but I'm sure we'll see.
They just traded 8 players and received 8 players and DFA'd 1 player in the last, couple days. So there's going to be some shuttling over the next week. And that's what's interesting, I think, overall. Again, Elias just made so many trades. I still can't even process all of them at once.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little while for the dust to settle. I mean, someone's not going to fit. Jimenez maybe doesn't fit. Maybe Pache doesn't fit. Maybe one of the relievers that they traded for, they end up, DFAing. So it's going to take a little while. Billy Cook traded for a prospect also. Yeah. There's another one, a prospect for prospect. Orioles need some pitching, and Pirates needing some hitting. So maybe Billy Cook sneaks his way up there. He's had a nice year, and Norfolk is an older kind of prospect. But yeah, Holiday, we'll see. I think Mayo and Holiday, you said it well on a tweet earlier, Eric. Think about when they called Gunnar Henderson up to keep his rookie status. Probably makes the most sense. Jackson's only been playing the field for a week or 2 since they've kind of rehabilitated him.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So a lot of shuffling still to be done. But again, the rotation feels strong. There was not a pit, and that's, again, expectations are what creates disappointment. There was not a pitcher that would start over Grayson Rodriguez or Corbin Burns, or maybe Eric Fetty in a marginal difference over Eflin. So there was no bigger move to really be made in the rotation than Eflin.
Again, we talked about it a lot, but think about, that's so much bigger because of the trade that happened yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever. Because now would it cost to give up, to get Eflin. It would have cost you Heston, like we were talking about in the group chat. That trade, it becomes so much bigger. And like you said, Jack Flaherty may be better than Eflin, but other than that, there was no other better pitcher out there that moved.
Did Flaherty end up getting moved?
Yeah, to the Dodgers. Yeah,
Okay.
That was at 604 or whatever. Yeah, that came down.
Okay.
They didn't give up much for him, but again, didn't go to the Yankees. And again, I mean, if you want to say this year Jack Flaherty has been better than Eflin, I'll take that. Sure. Okay, I won't argue that. But again, I mean, the Orioles theoretically got the second best pitcher that was moved today. And they got him for pennies. So that's a win in itself right there. Because again, if they had waited a couple days, it would have cost you Heston plus maybe a couple arms or something like that. So yeah, that was a big move. I think it's
definitely was
after today. So
Eflin, we already have a little bit of solace in knowing that he looked right. He looked sharp. He looked like he fit and felt pretty strong there. Rogers has a 3.6 ERA over his last 9 starts. I'm seeing now Zach Bollinger tweets out Gregory Soto in his last 23 appearances has a 2.7 ERA. Only gave up a run in 5 of his last 23 appearances, so he appears to be trending in the right direction. Did the Orioles what's the tagline here? Did the Orioles blow the trade deadline? I don't think they blew it. I think they didn't make a move that set them over the top. The only move I think that was made that could have maybe Tanner Scott is the only one I look at and I'm like, okay, that could have been a move that maybe gives you that FU 9th inning arm and gets it done. Scott, very good. Obviously was an Oriole for a while, having an all-star year, ridiculous ERA, all of those things. So when you look at his advanced numbers, he indicates maybe a little regression towards being good as opposed to amazing, but would have loved that move. I tweeted, I think earlier today or yesterday, if the Orioles don't get bullpen help, I know they're not going to win the World Series. So they go get a couple arms and push Suarez into the bullpen there. Some hard throwing arms. Dominguez throws hard. Soto throws hard. Suarez up there in velo himself, especially for a starter and a good bit as a reliever. So I like having a little bit more gas in there. You got Cano throwing hard, Perez throwing hard, Kimbrel, getting up there in years and his velocity's dipping. I don't feel great about that still. We can talk about that through the rest of the season, but shuffled in some fresh blood there. You don't feel like you're running on fumes in the rotation or the pen anymore, because that's what it's been, right? They feel like they've been running on fumes in the rotation for 2-3 weeks now. I mean, really since before the break, having to finally settle into not having Bradish or Wells or Coulomb or who am I missing? One more. Bradish, Wells, and Means. Yeah, there we go. So, it's been tough. They've done their best to tread water with that. I feel like they've leveled that situation out. Did they make a power move? No, but again, no one really did. No one really did.
That's
good point here. Lefty, with Baltimore, Rogers being able to throw to lefties, going to have better split there. And then Baltimore is going to protect him against righties on the other side there, hopefully. So,
and again, yeah, the wall is going to help him. And again, if they feel like they can tinker with him, which I'm sure that's what they think, I have no problem with it because it improves their rotation. Their rotation is better right now than it was, a week ago. So and again, they didn't really the only MLB talent they gave up was Austin Hayes. Okay, perfectly fine. I will take that any day. Again, the Orioles didn't blow this. They didn't blow. I think if you can look at it, the only real winner maybe from the trade deadline is the Marlins, because they got 48 freaking pieces back for everyone, so they did a good job. But again, I mean, you could, the Orioles didn't lose it. They didn't win it, but I think they came out ahead of a lot of other teams, especially in the AL East. Again, the Guardians get, what's his name? Lane Thomas from the Nationals, and then Alex Cobb. Okay, sure. Doesn't scare me at all. Again, I mean, we've seen the Orioles, how they can play when they're at their best. They haven't done that for the last month and a half, but with these pieces, I think it definitely helps shore up them, not only for this year, but next year as well. You have all these controllable pitchers now. Golden God never questioned the moves he make. Yeah, but then you can flip a year later and call him a jackass live on radio airs if you wanted to do that. But again, I like most of the moves they made. Again, they didn't have the big splash, but like we said, nobody did really except for the Padres, and that's kind of just what the Padres do. They spend $1 billion, they trade everyone, and then they don't win anything. that's kind of just how it goes for San Diego. So again, I like kind of the roster they're building. It's going to be very interesting to see how they make all these guys work. You know, again, we were just counting, there's 18 outfielders on the team now. It's going to be interesting, but I think I like the pieces that came in. I'm perfectly okay with the pieces that they sent out. Again, Connor Norby, Kyle Stowers, I like you both personally. There was just no room, and people can complain about that all you want. Send your hate letters to the Houston Astros. I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time people have done that, but again, they kind of ruined the market with everything. And again, it comes down to would you rather Elias trade for Rogers and ship those guys out, or him sit on the prospects for another year and not get a single thing out of them? That's what it comes down to. You can't call him a prospect hugger and then get mad when he trades these guys. It's not how it works.
I don't know. I've never seen anything. I mean, they ate Eloy Jimenez's contract, which is new with Rubes in.
Yep.
Not something we saw during the Angelos regime. I know there were some beat writers saying like, oh my God, the Armageddon must be Dan Connolly saying, oh my God, the Armageddon is upon us with moves like that. So again, there was, I think 16 players, maybe it was like 14 players that the Orioles either received or dealt today, something along those lines. And most of them being big league-ish guys. A lot to still process and see. And the other aspect, I mean, we know what deals didn't go down. Like you said, Snell wasn't moved. Skubal wasn't moved. Crochet wasn't moved. Tanner Scott, for instance, was. That's the one that maybe you might regret. Maybe trading Kjerstad. I don't know. Like, that's the only thing you can feel. Like, I think it would have required a Kjerstad and maybe a Povich and a McDermott or Seth Johnson, who they ended up trading. Something like that, at least.
Yeah.
And we don't know if the Marlins wanted that, because they got two higher pitching prospects relatively than what the Orioles had. So maybe they weren't interested in a bat. Maybe they feel like organizationally that's not what they were interested in receiving back as part of their biggest package that they get for Tanner Scott. So it's boring to say, it's fun to do the whole Skip Bayless scream and everybody, messed it up and ruined this, that, or the other. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wait and see what Eflin can turn into, see what a Rogers can turn into, if the moves they made are enough to supplement the bullpen, and if it's good enough. I don't think that they have the bullpen. Kimbrel, we had a question here. Is someone else going to take over for Kimbrel? I don't think so. No. I think they promised Kimbrel he's going to close. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame closer, so he's going to close.
And again, people need to realize this. And I was talking with some guys about it. He's going to be on this team in October. He's going to throw meaningful pitches in a playoff game. It's how it's going to go. Like you said, he is a Hall of Fame closer. You can hate it all you want. He's going to close for the Orioles in the playoffs. That's just how it's going to go. They're not going to eat the money. It's not the show. You don't just DFA a guy, because he's had a couple bad out. As much as we wanted to, it's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. So he needs to pitch better, because he's going to have a role in October. And that's just the bottom line. He's, like we said, he's a Hall of Famer. He has to figure it out and pitch better. But you can be upset and be mad, I'm sure I will, but he's going to be here in October. That is just the bottom line. So, and I do like this tweet too from our friend Freddie. He said, "Dust settled? ? Orioles got better today. Not by the magnitude some of us were hoping, but again, neither did the Yankees or the Red Sox. Brutal pitching market. Our biggest need is and was before the deadline are core guys getting their swing back." That's what it comes down to.
If the Orioles are going to make a World Series run, again, I don't think they have the bullpen to do it. I will say that. I don't think they have the FU arm that's required, but it's going to be Corbin, Grayson, Adley, Gunnar, Tony, Westy, throw Mountie in there, throw Cowser in there, down to the six hitter, and a clutch moment from the Jorge Mateos of the world, or the Ramon Uriases of the world, or whoever the hell. I don't think rookies are necessarily the difference, outside of maybe the one that might win Rookie of the Year in Colton Cowser for the AL, who just smoked another ball and is continuing to absolutely rake at the top of the order and even before. But those are going to have to be the guys. Corbin's going to have to shove. Grayson's going to have to shove. And you're going to need, I guess, maybe one of those guys wedges into the 7th or 8th inning. But yeah, it's going to have to be the other guys. And that's why I am a little taken aback, because it really did feel like the Orioles needed one more stud today. to get things done. They opted to go for the depth and versatility route. At this point, we can see what happened. Somebody scored.
RBI double. Gunnar just had a Texas ALDS game 2 slide into home plate. So scored from first. Sorry.
Love it. How dare you? How dare you talk about the Orioles while we're talking about the Orioles? Yeah, I mean, I think they needed one more stud. So I'm a little disappointed. But then when you look back, what was the expectation a week ago? Hey, I want 2 arms and 2 relievers and a right-handed and another right-handed bat in the outfield. They got like 3 right-handed bats in the outfield. They got 3 relievers and 2 starters. Is Rogers lighting the world on fire? No, but he's better than Cade Povich and McDermott have been, and Eflin is probably better than Dean Kramer, who's been hurt. And we have some questions about Kramer. What happens with Kramer? Is Suarez better than Kramer? Kramer's been hurt and banged up and having a weird year. So he's got 2 months to figure it out. They have, 60 games left or so? So he's got 2 months to try and figure it out. Hopefully he can get healthy. Definitely hasn't been able to pump out consistencies. He had a nice little stretch, I believe, in May, maybe towards the end of May, just about. We had a couple quality starts in there, something like that. So Eflin under control, Grayson under control, Rogers under control, and we'll see. I would assume out of the 2 guys, I would say this, one of the 2 guys in the bullpen will probably improve a good bit, or one of the 3 really will probably improve a good bit, and one of the starters I think will improve at least beyond marginally between Eflin and Rogers. So if that happens, you have 4 solid starters, you get your bullpen a little deeper, got some more velocity in it, and like you said, Eric, I mean, it has to be the guys at the top. Seth Johnson, I was interested to see traded at the bell there. Hard throwing righty who had Tommy John prospect, and
came over in the trade deal.
Yep, in the Trey Mancini deal. So that was an interesting one. They also get rid of Jackson Baumeister, who still had a good bit of work to do, but had been impressing down in low A and such. So none of their top guys traded away, but I thought those were some interesting moves. Mac Horvath, it felt like they have 7 of him, really athletic guys that can hit for power and need to, cut down on strikeouts and hit a little better. So a lot of moves made. And I mean, so many moves made all around baseball, but none of them blockbusters. If Tanner Scott as a rental is the blockbuster move, it wasn't necessarily something that you were missing out on market-wise. And like you said, we saw the Yankees and the Red Sox sit a little bit more tight and not reshuffle, reload. So you've got to think Elias is up to something with the 15 moves he made. I mean, I'm still flabbergasted. I made 15 trades today.
It was funny. Ebo, friend of the program, tweeted, the Orioles just went from having too many prospects to having too many prospects and also too many players. Like they just have, again, I said it. It's like the parties we went to in college. There's a lot of dudes, just a lot of dudes. Again, I keep circling back to no one else in the AL got better. Even, I mean, again, outside of the Padres, I don't think anyone thinks of the Padres as a World Series contender. The Dodgers probably got better with Flaherty, but even like the Phillies, did the Phillies get better? I don't know. The Yankees certainly didn't. The Red Sox didn't. The Guardians didn't. By like a wide margin, maybe a tick up or something like that. But the Orioles out of the AL East, I think the Orioles won the deadline. I think they came out looking the best out of all those teams. So it's kind of the only thing I'm worried about now. But like we said, it just goes back to the guys finding their stroke and just getting their groove back, finding the mojo, doing whatever. So Eloy is going to be interesting. That's going to be a fun one. He's going to hit and he's not going to run very hard and he better not play the field. But again, I think if he gets into some, he's going to.
Well, it's okay. They can start O'Hearn and then they can sub in Eloy and then they can bring in Pache and then they've got all the buttons to press now.
The roster construction is fascinating. It really is. Like they're going to be able to do some funky stuff. And I do like the Blue Jays trading a bunch of their guys today too, like getting Kiermaier out of there. I was hoping Bassett. I would have loved Bassett here, obviously, but I was hoping they would trade a couple more guys so we could just really kind of beat them down and secure a win.
And they'll end up losing somehow.
Yeah.
Probably. They'll call up 3 taxi squad guys and you'll have no report on them and they'll squeak out some runs somehow.
Like the guy he hit the home run yesterday off Eflin who had like a 406 OPS and it was his first career home run. Like just happened to run in one.
Yeah, after a misplayed ball.
Yep. After Turner gets traded, but and again, the Mariners. The Mariners didn't do anything. Kansas City added a couple guys.
Kansas City, I think, had a really good deadline. They fortified their bullpen. They get 2 hard-throwing bullpen
They got
high leverage guys.
Who did they? They got what's his name? The dude from Oakland, Cragg.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
Throws 98. Some people saying he really only had a good April. He's been more inconsistent, and that's the other thing. All these guys are playing on dog shit teams. All these guys are. I mean, Eflin's been on a hapless Rays team. That Wander Franco's situation goes down. The Rays haven't been super competitive. They trade away Randy Arozarena. I mean, they're a sinking ship. The Marlins are a sinking ship. All these guys are coming from. Eloy Jimenez has been on the White Sox, hurt and not giving a shit probably for the last 2-3 years. So, I mean, suddenly you're on a competitive team that has fun personality, has fans that are interested in it, and are on the precipice. So, they've got just as good of a shot as making a run as I would say the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Guardians. I will say the one team that we just mentioned that I think is a little scarier and is playing some really good baseball is the Royals. So I expect to see them surge. They got the bullpen fortification they needed. Well,
again, they added Paul DeJong, the shortstop. Do you think they put him at short and move Bobby Witt somewhere? Second?
Probably, yeah. Maybe to left out.
Bench piece. What would you get? What would you give if we're going to do it? Let's do the grading scale.
So again, it's tough because I want to shed the expectations because the trade deadline wasn't what anyone in baseball necessarily thought. All the beat writers giving out all these crazy names. What do the Orioles need? In a dream world, 2 starters. In a dream world, 2 bullpen arms. They get 3. They bop around. So I'm going to give the Orioles a solid. I'll give them an 84 out of 100. I'll give them a B, a solid B. I mean, they didn't blow the doors off, but considering what everyone else did, they made moves, and I would imagine Elias has a plan. Again, I'm going to give Elias the benefit of the doubt. He has been nothing but a really formidable stalwart as a general manager that has a clear-cut vision and is well-respected around baseball, highly thought of, and has produced the most successful team last year and almost again this year than we've seen in terms of other than, winning the ALDS once, the most successful team regular season wise we've seen in a long time, all the star power. So I'll give a B and 84.
I'm right there with you. I think like a B plus, B minus. I think somewhere in that like 84 to 87 kind of range, I'm perfectly okay with. As Gunnar. Oh my God, he made the throw. Gunnar made a perfect throw. That was incredible. Sorry. Someone had a good point here. Clay Train Gaming. He said acquiring Soto made it okay with me for the Rogers deal. Which, again, I think that kind of checks out because, again, no Jackson Holiday in this lineup. They're putting out the Tides keep tweeting out lineups, and Jackson's not in any of them. So I don't know what's going on. But
Jackson is going to be in Baltimore tomorrow or
Cleveland.
In like 2.5 weeks. He's going to be up here soon.
Yeah, but again, I think Soto going with that Rogers deal because, again, it's nothing. And again, if you look at it in a complete package, like you had talked about, if you would have said like, hey, we're going to give up Norby and Stowers for Eflin, you would be okay with that. And then Baumeister, Mack, and whoever for Trevor Rogers, you would have been perfectly okay with those. So
the thing that holds me back from giving them an A and maybe even feeling a little more great, I really started to love the idea of Blake Snell. Snell had the player option, which is fickle, and considering who his agent is, that the Orioles just can't get away from no matter what they do. And good old Boris Corp there, that would have really made me feel fantastic. But I just beg the question, it's fun to play these games and do these things. The results are more important than, what we're looking at. We don't know. We don't know their vision. But you look at all the guys they traded, maybe they could have gone with one less bullpen arm and put together a package that gets Snell. Maybe Snell's not available at all. So, it's tough to say. We don't know. And again, but that was the one I was looking at that was like, oof, that kind of sort of feels perfect to have a 4-man rotation with Snell, Eflin, Grayson, and Corbin. Doesn't get traded. So
2 in a row, good throws for Gunnar. Just saying. But the Giants, that felt weird because last night they trade Soler, then they trade Alex Cobb, and then so you're like, oh, okay, they are going to go sell. And then again, they kind of held on to Snell. People were saying Matt Chapman was going to get traded. So again, they're kind of stuck in that middle ground too. But that, Snell would have been, I never got this sense that they were going to trade Snell either. That kind of seemed like what the Tigers were doing with Skubal. Like, we'll dangle him out there. And if someone is like, oh, here's Mayo and here's Basallo, they'll be like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. But unless they were blown away, and again, you're crazy to not, try and dangle some of these guys in a seller's market. So it didn't seem like he was ever going to go somewhere. It would have been fun though. That I think he would have fit in nice, but yeah, there we go. Johnson doesn't throw that hard anymore. If the
I thought he threw like maybe 94. I don't know, but I'll defer. There was a comment in here I wanted to find as we're wrapping up a little bit. I can't seem to find it, but yeah, improve the rotation, improve the bullpen, find yourself some options. And one other thing I do like is that this is like stupid. I said this to you and Jake, I think, when we were talking about it, but okay, what did you have in your rotation for next year? Not a lot.
Yep.
A lot of youth and nothing else other than really Grayson. Dean, who has been fighting injury himself, but it just takes a little pressure off the front office to have to go find at least viable arms. Eflin is at least a viable starter for you in your rotation. You don't need to worry about that. And it allows you to put your brain space elsewhere in the offseason as they look to continue making more moves. And man, I mean, Basayo, Mayo, Jackson Holiday, Kerstad just getting integrated now. I mean, people wanted to see a blockbuster. No one willing to do it. The bubble of pitchers is upon us. Like it's like receiver in the NFL. It feels like, where it's like, all right, well, we'll just trade you and Stephon Diggs. We'll just trade this receiver instead of paying them. We saw Jordan Montgomery and we saw Snell go for the big long contracts and not get them. So there's a little bit of an impasse, and maybe that has something to do with it. Some people like to call that collusion. Other people like to call it, a bubble in the market. But there was no deal that blew me away. I mean, there's no deal that blows us away. So you love, as a hopeful fan, to say, bring back Corbin Burns, but got to be the highest bidder. And I don't know if they're taking Eloy Jimenez salary dumps after trading away Austin Hayes and making all these moves and bringing on Eflin, who's owed some money and things like that. What we've kind of heard is that, Rubenstein's willing to spend. That's been made apparent by Elias himself, that Rubes is willing to spend. So can't ask for too much more in that department if you want to take a really great cheap core and then put the bells and whistles on. Unfortunately, maybe didn't do it this year.
Yeah, but again, I mean, you talked about it too, like the offseason. Garrett Crochet next year should be like no restrictions, no whatever. You don't have to worry about his innings limit or anything. So this is something that could get brought up at the winter meetings. And who knows, Elias working this trade out.
I'm sick of the White Sox and their fucking hard throwing pitchers, man. I'm sick of it.
You don't want them? You're done with them?
I'm done with the White Sox. Eloy Jimenez is the last one. I'm done with the winter meetings and the Dylan Ceases and the Garrett Crochets. This is like the fourth year of trying to pry a pitcher away from the stupid White Sox. Yeah. And them just not selling. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, again, I mean, I think all things considered, it's a job well done by Elias. Again, you've said it a billion times. We wanted the blockbuster. Everybody did. It didn't come for anyone. That's the other thing. It's not like the Yankees went out and were like, we're adding this guy, we're adding this guy, we're adding this guy. They didn't. It's Jazz. Jazz is a very good player. But if that's the biggest splash that they made, I will take that in a heartbeat. I will be okay with that. So again, I'm perfectly fine with what the Orioles did at the deadline. I'm happy with the guys that they moved. I'm happy with the guys that they didn't move. And again, this is a chance for them to kind of reel things in and get themselves going. And like you said, it's 60 games now. This is a 2020 season. It's a sprint now. So you're a half game up. I think you'll take that any day, and we'll kind of we'll go from there.
I will say, I think that the Orioles showed a lot of faith in Grayson Rodriguez by not splurging. And I don't know that there's anyone who has more before them now. You're the game 2 guy, buddy. I mean, you're the game 1 guy next year as things stand. So Grayson was lights out in the second half last year. He's had a couple stinkers, happens. Still only has 42 starts, something like that. But need Grayson to come through, especially come playoff time. And then bullpen wise, I don't know. I'd still, we'll see. We'll see. Too early to judge the moves they made, but I still don't feel great about where the bullpen is. And I think that puts even more pressure on Grayson to give you 6-7 innings in October when still not a super experienced guy. So I think if the Orioles are to make a run, Grayson Rodriguez pitches lights out at least twice. Pitches lights out. So that is someone that I look to that needs to be a leader for this team to go where they think they can go this year in an AL that's not scaring anyone. I mean, the AL is not the stronger conference, and there's no one team that's the big monster. So time to button your pants up, make the changes that are needed. And we need to see Gunnar and Adley be better. We need to see them lead this team through the playoffs. You've got your horse in Corbin Burns, and it's time for the Bel Air pitching lab, the Aberdeen pitching lab to get to work here with Soto, Dominguez, and who's the third one I'm missing? Soto, Dominguez.
Soto.
I don't know. They made so many trades. I don't even know. I can't remember anymore. We talked about it for an hour, but
I can't remember.
Does that wrap it up for us? We appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Easiest way to support us. Orioles season. I mean, the dog days of summer are kind of over now. I think this finishes the dog days of summer. It's when the trade deadline is up. So we appreciate you guys. We're going to get back into the full swing of things. We've been on a bunch of vacations, things like that. We love doing this show. We love doing the series recaps. We'd love to have you for those every series. The summer, we've had a couple of vacations, but love doing those. We're going to get more intense with those, ramp up into Ravens season. Like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. We try to do our best, to be honest, and not really pander to one side or the other, the pessimist or the optimist, but just share our unadulterated selves. So hopefully you enjoy. Eric, I enjoy you. You can follow Eric at EDITTI22. I am at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4. Jake is at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. Taylor is at Taylor Smythe 10. And Banks is at Barstool Banks. Again, like and subscribe. Shout out to Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Shout out to Black Eyed Susan Spices. Shout out to my boy, Sam Henning. Go get you a fresh cut down in Clipper City. Shout out to everyone that supports us. We love you guys so much. Let's hopefully see the Orioles win one tonight and get a little hot streak started after playing some dog shit baseball.
Let's hope.